Hey guys, today I just want to talk about my two Alienware laptops here. So on the left side I have my Alienware 13 R3. So this computer was released in late 2016, early 2017, so it is not a new computer, it's a few years old. And then on the right side I have my Alienware m15 R2, which I did a review on last year. This has been my main gaming computer for pretty much a year. Until I upgraded my desktop. Then I started using my desktop more. But basically for the past, for basically a year, all the VR videos that you see on my YouTube channel, all the VR chat, Samsung stuff, that was all on the Alienware m15 R2. And most of the gaming videos you see from last year from the Alienware as well. So yeah, it's a pretty good gaming computer. And I just wanted to make this video comparing the two because it is not as clear-cut as you would think. You would think that the new one is just strictly better in every way, but it's not. I think both of these computers have their merits, right? So let's take a look first. Get the obvious out of the way. The m15 R2 is the newer computer. This computer came out in late 2019, early 2020. This is a 15-incher. So just comparison, this is a 13-incher. So of course the size difference is obvious there, right? 13 inch is going to be smaller, right? You can see here that obviously the 13 inch is a bit smaller here when it comes to the width. In terms of the weight, it's actually quite similar. They both weigh around, I would say around 5 pounds-ish, around 4.5 to 5 pounds. Yeah, I would say around there. Yeah, I don't think it's over 5 pounds. It's more like, yeah, 4.5 pounds. But both of them weigh about the same. Despite this being a smaller computer. And the reason is because this one uses heavier materials. So the m15 R2 uses mostly plastic. And that's actually one of the reasons that I don't like this computer when it comes to the materials used, and the durability is actually not as good as this computer. Because they use lighter materials, which brings down the weight of the laptop and makes it slimmer, but it also compromises the durability, I think. So there's pros and cons, right, when it comes to these two computers. What I like about this computer, I like the design. So this is the Legend design that Alienware has used since the Area 51M. You can see the back here has this type of UFO type of ring, LED ring around here. So that's pretty cool, and it has this honeycomb type of design, right, which you can see the motif on the bottom here, and then you can see it here as well, right, the top here. And the keyboard is pretty nice on this computer, right? It's got a decent amount of travel. It's like 1.6, which is 1.8 millimeters travel. Pretty good, actually. This computer is definitely going to be, yeah, it's definitely better than most of the super portable light laptops that you find these days. So the keyboard is actually pretty good. Trackpad is decent. Does not have its own dedicated buttons. It's just a glass trackpad with them built in. I don't like that as much, but it is the modern type of design. Very slim and very light, right? Obviously that is the trend, right? I mean, compared to the older school Alienware design. I used to have the Alienware 15 R3 as well, and that was a really chunky machine, and that weighed like 7 pounds. So yeah, you can see just how much Alienware has come. The Alienware used to make really chunky laptops, but now they've gotten pretty slim, right? You can see how slim this is. Do a comparison between the older school design. By the way, this design is actually considered slimmer than the older school design as well. So Alienware used to make like this, even this one was considered slim compared to their previous designs, right? And now, like, you can see, like, yeah, you can see how much slimmer the m15 is compared to the older school design, which is the 13 and the 15, right? The ports are pretty good. So you can see here, you even have full-size Ethernet here. And then of course you have the proprietary Alienware graphics amplifier port right here. If you want external GPU, of course this one already has a 2060 in it. So that's already pretty good enough for me. But you can expand that. Full-size HDMI and mini display port. Pretty important actually for VR stuff. Then actually has 3 USB-A ports, right? So it's got one on this side, then 2 on this side. So again, very important for VR, because when you're using VR headsets, they actually take up a lot of USB ports, and mini display port is actually really good for laptops for connecting, right? Actually, like my HP Reverb G2 headset uses a display port connector, so it's better to use the mini display port. So yeah, all in all, the M15 is a very good laptop. Of course, it's a newer design, right? It has a faster processor, better GPU, obviously, and I like the design. And the keyboard is pretty decent, has a decent amount of ports. Overall, this is a very good computer. So now let's look at this older school computer. Now you might be thinking, you know, the newer one is going to be better, obviously. You know, why even talk about the old one? Well, one thing I've mentioned already is that in order to bring the weight of this computer down and to make it slimmer, they had to make a compromise on the materials that's used, right? So you can see the lid here, right, is in plastic. Even the alien head logo here, the famous Alienware alien head logo here, right? It doesn't feel as nice as the one they used to have. This one feels like it's metal, right? It's almost like it's metal. This one is, yeah, it goes along with the whole plastic type of material that they use. I don't think it's exactly, I mean, it's obviously an LED light, right? The whole thing's an LED light, but it just doesn't feel as nice. My opinion doesn't look as nice either, but that's subjective. But yeah, it just, you know, has a lot more flex. The build quality to me just isn't as good as the older Alienwares, right? And that's just a compromise they had to make in order to bring this, the weight of this computer down, the chunkiness down, right? It's just that you can see the lid and the bottom are both plastic, right? So that's one compromise Alienware had to make, or Dell had to make rather, to bring the weight down, to make it slimmer, to use a lighter material. But the older school Alienware, of course, this one is heavier, it's chunkier, but man, like this is just solid, right? This whole, I know I got the skin from Delcaris, right? If you guys are ever curious about what skin this is, it's from Delcaris. I'll link it in the description below. But yeah, this is actually metal. This lid is metal. Even the Alienware head logo here is you know, it feels a lot nicer than the new one. The new one, I think it's just the entire head lights up, but this one only the eyes light up, which I actually like a little bit better. Maybe I'm just old school like that, but yeah, only the eyes light up. But yeah, it just feels nicer. The lid is made of metal. You can see that this part here is not as good looking as the UFO type of ring design on there. So the back I don't like as much, but the lid and the bottom I definitely like more, because this is metal, right? You run your fingers down that. This is super well built. So in terms of the build quality, right? Build quality and the materials used, the older Alienwares are actually, you know, they're better, they're more durable than the newer ones. They use thicker materials, right? You can tell there's no flex on this lid at all compared to this one, right? This one I can easily flex on it. This one, no flex at all because they use metal. So opening it up, there's a few things that I like about this one too. First of all, the trackpad here, it is using dedicated left and right click buttons, whereas the M15, like I already demonstrated, it has a nice glass trackpad, but it uses a more modern design where you have to basically click like this. And this to me is a little bit more inaccurate, right? Even on my MacBooks and stuff like that, like if I want to right click, like it's generally just a pain to have to, you know, go down here and click the specific section to get it right. Whereas this one just has left and right click buttons. Now the trackpad size is not too different. I mean, sure, this one's a little bit smaller. This one's a little bit bigger, but really the difference is not that much. The keyboard on here is better. And I know I said this keyboard is pretty good, right? It is pretty good compared to most modern laptops, right? Compared to most modern laptops, of course, the Alienware M15 keyboard is good. But the older Alienware keyboard is even better. It has even deeper travel, it has 2.2 millimeters of travel. This is possible because the chassis is actually, you know, deeper and chunkier than this one, right? It's got a deeper chassis, so this keyboard is a non-chiclet keyboard. It's a very old school design, but yeah, I like it better. I mean, it's got more travel, and yeah, this huge 2.2 millimeters of travel is massive actually for a laptop. So just, yeah, very, very good keyboard on this one. So yeah, I like the keyboard better. The Alienware head logo actually, interestingly, on both these computers are actually in the same location. They're on the upper right side, which is interesting because on the M15 R1 and on the Alienware 15, right, they have it in the middle here, which is a more traditional location. But on these models, they're both on the upper right. The displays, actually, this is an interesting thing. The display on this one is actually better. It's very interesting because this one is an older laptop. It's an older laptop, predates this one by like 4 years at least. I would say 3 years, yeah, at least 3.5 years. But this has a better display. This has a 1440p OLED display, because this one only has a 1080p IPS display. Of course, you can upgrade this one to OLED, is an option, but it's going to cost a lot more, right? Whereas this one I got kind of at a discount a few years ago because it was used. So yeah, despite the fact that this one's older, actually has a better display. Of course, you can upgrade this one as well, but I think it's actually really impressive that this one came out with an OLED display way back in 2016. And this is probably one of the first notebooks ever to have an OLED display, right? I mean, back in 2016, you basically only had the HP Spectre X360 and the X1 Yoga, the Lenovo X1 Yoga ThinkPad, right? Which I actually did a review on back in 2016, because that was one of the few OLED laptops back then. And this is definitely one of the first as well, right? I think, yeah, Alienware, Lenovo, and HP were the first laptops with the OLED displays back more than 4 years ago. So yeah, you got to give props, right, to Dell for having this. I mean, way back then. And interestingly enough, this one comes with Windows Hello, right? As a Windows Hello webcam. This one does not. This one does not have a Windows Hello webcam. Both of them have Tobii eye tracking, I believe. I don't really use that feature, but I believe that's what this camera, I don't know why they put this camera down here. That's a little bit of a weird location, right? I don't know why they put it down here, but there's a camera down here, I guess, for tracking, although this doesn't have Windows Hello for some reason. This one has it up here, right, in the usual place that you would expect. You know, I like that design better. This display, you can push it back like this, and this is as far as it will go. It will not go back farther than this. The Alienware 13, right, the older one, you can push it all the way down 180 degrees, right? So that's interesting, right? I mean, that's just the way maybe they made this design. So just, you know, maybe it's not that useful, right? But that's just another difference I want to note. This is also a touch screen. It's a touch display. This one is not. Yeah, we can boot them both up. You guys can see difference. All right, they both have RGB lighting, of course, Alien FX. All right, so this is the lock screen for both laptops. One thing I forgot to mention is that this touchpad lights up. This one does not. It's a very minor thing, you know, cosmetic, but just want to mention that. This does not have the LED strips on the side like its older brother, the 15 and the 17 do. Unfortunately, maybe the chassis isn't quite as big to accommodate those, but at least the touchpad still lights up. All right, so yeah, like I said, this one has Windows Hello, so it's very fast and easy to log in, right? Let's go back to Windows Hello. Yep, there it is, and very, very fast. This one does not have Windows Hello, so unfortunately I have to type in my password or my PIN to log in. All right, so you guys can see pretty easily the difference in the displays between the two. Despite the fact that this is a 13-inch, this is a 15-inch, you can obviously tell this has deeper blacks and better contrast because this is the OLED display, right? This is a 1440p OLED display. This is a 1080p, which is full HD IPS display. So yeah, it's a big difference there, right? You can obviously see a difference in the contrast between the two with the black backgrounds. In addition, like I said, this one is a touchscreen, right? So I mean, it doesn't matter too much to gamers, I guess, but it is useful, I think, sometimes. People who don't like touchscreens, they say, oh, we don't need it on a laptop. When are you ever going to use it? You do need it, I think. Well, for me, I use it in certain situations, right? Like if I'm navigating on a map, then being able to zoom in just like this using your fingers, or on a photo, right? I'm looking at a photo, being able to zoom in using your fingers is very useful. I think is a lot easier to do than doing it on a touchpad, right? Just going up, touching the screen with your finger, or scrolling, right? Scrolling a web page. Sometimes I just want to reach up with my fingers and scroll like that. Very, very simple, very easy, instead of using the touchpad, right? Of course, if you have a mouse, then you know, it doesn't matter too much. Your mouse is probably easier. But let's say you don't have a mouse, right? You don't have access to a mouse. Well, yeah, just scrolling or zooming in using your fingers is a lot easier, in my opinion, than using the touchpad. Yeah, some people don't like having a touchscreen on a laptop. They say, oh, why is it necessary? We don't need it and stuff. But for me, I think it is useful in certain situations. Like, you don't have to use it all the time, right? Obviously, but it is useful in certain situations, I think, especially if you don't have a mouse or access to a mouse. So yeah, compared to a touchpad, I mean, I think for me, I use it sometimes. All right, that's pretty much it. I mean, this one has a GTX 1060. It has a Core i7 7th gen processor. This one has a RTX 2060 and a 9th gen Core i7 processor. So obviously the specs on this one is better. But this one, even the 1060 can still run, surprisingly, some VR games, right? It can run GTA 5, I've tested it, new Halo Master Chief Collection, yeah, a lot of the VR games. So yeah, that's actually pretty surprising, but it just goes to show how much better the Turing generation was compared to the older Pascal generation, right? So once NVIDIA released the 10 series, it was like a huge step up. So even the 1060, being as old as it is, you know, came out in 2016, it's still able to run a lot of the AAA games today, which is, you know, which makes this laptop still kind of useful, right, for playing games. Obviously, the 2060 is going to be more powerful, but still, the 1060 is still pretty good. And it can still, surprisingly, I tested it with my Oculus Quest 2, and it ran all the VR games just fine. So yeah, even an older GPU like this is still kind of useful, right? You can still play a lot of modern games, and maybe not the highest settings, but you can still play it. Maybe not the highest frame rates, but I can still do it with my 1060. So yeah, the specs obviously not as good as one, but it's not bad, especially for its era, right? Given that this computer came out in late 2016, you know, I had to give it props for still being able to run a lot of stuff today. Audio wise, I mean, I have it both on 100 volume. We can test that. We have a track here, I can run both of them. So here goes, like I said, full volume for the Alienware 13. Let's see. All right. Okay, so this is the speakers on the Alienware 13. I think it's okay for the size, right? It is a 13-inch laptop, so yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, it's a 13-inch laptop. Usually 13-inch laptops, besides the MacBook Pro, would not sound that great. Okay, yeah, it's not bad. I mean, definitely you could do worse for the size. But of course, I'm expecting the 15-inch to sound better. It is a bigger laptop, and it is the newer one. So yeah, I got the volume up to full. Let's try it. Yep, definitely it sounds better. Notice there's no special branding on these Alienwares. There's no collaboration. I think there used to be. Dell used to have a collaboration with Dyne Audio, I think. Yeah, but there's no special audio branding on these ones. Not that it means anything, right? Yeah, like my Asus had the Harman Kardon branding, my HP has the Bang & Olufsen branding. Doesn't really mean much. Dell has the normal Dell laptops, the XPS laptops, has the Waves Max Audio stuff. But yeah, these ones, I mean, yeah, the 13-inch sounds fine for what it is. The 15-inch sounds better. I mean, it is a bigger laptop, so I guess you should expect that. But there is no direct comparison between this one to a modern Alienware, because Alienware doesn't make a 13-inch anymore. This was the last 13-inch that they made, so it's hard to do a direct comparison. So yeah, this is pretty much the smallest Alienware that they make now, is a 15-inch. Put aside the fact that this one is a bigger laptop, and just talk about the other stuff, okay? So the TLDR is the Alienware m15 R2 is obviously it's a newer laptop, so it has better specs, it has a better processor, it has a better GPU. I like the design. If you want to look at the back, here it is, the glowing, the entire alien head logo glows, which I don't actually like necessarily better than this one, but I do like that ring, right, that blue ring you get, whereas this one, I like this one better actually, just the outline of the alien head plus the eyes, right? The eyes have like a little mesmerizing kind of thing going on here. So yeah, I mean, this is the, you see the back of both laptops here. Yeah, so I like the UFO LED ring, or in the legend design. I think it's pretty cool, the hexacomb stuff. But yeah, I mean, you can see the Alienware. I actually like this Alienware head logo better than this one. Yeah, but I do like this part better for the M15. So yeah, I like the design overall for the M15 is good. And I believe I think this has per key lighting or something on the keys. It might have more lighting options. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. Those are the only things I like better about this one, is the better specs, and the, you know, obviously the weight and the thinness is good, and the design is better. The Alienware 13, the things I like better about this one, I like the trackpad better because it has the dedicated left-right click buttons. I like the keyboard better, even though this keyboard is pretty good. It's pretty good, but this keyboard is better because it has deeper travel, and yeah, it just feels a touch better for me. So like that one better. This display is better. It's got a 1440p OLED display, which is a touchscreen. You can order this one with an OLED display as well. So I don't think that display is necessarily, you know, like a major reason to get this laptop over this laptop or anything. But I am saying on this particular model, right, versus this particular model, I do like the OLED display here. Of course, you know, if you want to get the OLED display for this one, you got to pay way more than this one. Yeah, and the build quality. Yep, I like the metal material that they use here. Of course, that adds to the weight and the heft, but it's very strongly built. This one is fine, but it's just not as well built as this one. But it, you know, I'm not going to say that this build quality sucks or anything. It's obviously still pretty good. You know, they're using pretty strong plastic here. But, you know, if I were to just compare it side by side with this older school Alienware, the old school Alienware is still going to win in terms of durability. So this thing's like built like a tank, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. The ports wise, pretty similar. We already went over the ports for this one. The only difference is, despite the fact that this is a 13-inch, it's smaller, right? This actually has the same amount of ports as this one does. The only difference is, right, I mean, it has USB-A right here. It has a microphone and a headphone jack. It has it separately. This one actually has a combo, right? You can see it's a combo jack right here. So this one has it separately. And back ports is pretty much the same as this one. Has a full-size Ethernet, mini display port, full-size HDMI. You got a Thunderbolt 3 right here, Alienware graphics amplifier port. Then on this side, here's the main difference, I guess, in ports is you have a USB-A, but you also have another USB-C. So despite the fact that this is an older laptop and it's a smaller laptop, it has the same amount of ports as this one, and it also has an extra USB-C over USB-A here. So this one has one more USB-A port, right? It's got 3 in total. This one only has 2 USB-A ports, but it has an extra USB-C port in addition to the Thunderbolt 3. So I mean, go figure, right? The older laptop has, for some reason, more USB-C ports than the newer laptop, which doesn't really make sense, but there you go. And there's no SD card slots on either of them, which is that's kind of a bummer. But you know, Alienware is, I don't think that they've ever really had, like, you'd probably had to go way back to find one with an SD card slot. It's just not something that they really had. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, yeah, ports wise, you know, despite the fact this is a 13-inch, this is a 15-inch, pretty much a wash. Yeah, so you're not really missing anything in terms of ports with the older one either. So you actually get a USB-C, in fact. And yeah, you guys may be surprised, right, in this video that I did not give all the wins to the newer version, right? You would think that the newer version would be better in every way, but it's not. It's only better in some ways. In a lot of other ways, I do prefer the older Alienware. So yeah, and I know that this one is maybe bulkier and stuff, but you know, that's the price you pay for a little bit more of a premium build, I think. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you think of this comparison. If you guys are looking for like an older Alienware, then I think this one is still pretty good. I mean, like I said, GTX 1060 is still holding up pretty well today, and the old one is very durable, of course. I think that, and the price, of course, is definitely going to be lower than this one because it's older, right? But I think it will still hold up today. So yeah, if you're looking for a cheaper Alienware, then I think that the going for the older Alienwares is not a bad choice, right? You can find them online for fairly cheap. They're fairly affordable, and yeah, I mean, you're not going to get as much specs, right? Specs wise, you're not going to get as much as the newer ones, but it can still hold its own, right? With the 7th gen, I think it has a 7700 HQ processor, and GTX 1060, 16 gigs of RAM. Actually has the same amount of RAM, 1 terabyte of storage, same amount of storage as this one. So it's really, this one has a 9750H CPU and a 2060, right? So I mean, it's really just the CPU and the GPU that this one has over it, which is mainly really, I don't think the CPU difference is as much as the GPU difference, but still the 1060 can still hold its own. So if you guys are looking for a cheaper Alienware with good build quality, if you want a good display as well, right, this one has an OLED display that's actually better than the display on this one, on the newer one. So if you're looking for a good pickup, I got this for what, $800, so it's not that bad. This one, if you get this one with an OLED display, it's going to be at least $1,800, right? And the regular model without an OLED display is like $1,300 still. So yeah, I mean, I know these days there's GPU shortages and stuff like that. If you guys just want to get a gaming laptop, you know, good build quality, can play games, has a great display, it's not actually a bad idea to get an older Alienware, right? Honestly, they're a pretty good value, honestly. And yeah, $800 for this one, compared to $1,300 for this one. If you want the OLED display for this one, it's $1,800. So, you know, I saved quite a bit of money by getting this older one, and the 1060 is still good enough to play VR games, surprisingly. So yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section below, which one would you actually choose if you're looking for the best value? I'm not talking about just which is the better computer, but which is the better value, right? Would you pay $1,300 for the newer Alienware? You know, it has a more cooler design, it's thinner and lighter, and obviously better specs. Or would you pay $800, less money, but you get better build quality, you get a deeper keyboard, and you actually get a better screen, get a 1440p OLED screen. So yeah, I don't think there's actually a clear-cut value winner here. It's not as, yeah, it's not just always a case of the newer one being better here. So let me know in the comments which one you guys would go for in terms of the value. And yeah, that's it. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, thanks for watching.